All right, welcome to the AVNI Interviews. We're your hosts, Eric, Bork, and Mikey Taylor.
What up?
We're the co-founders of AVNI, a brand for entrepreneurs and influencers. Here on the AVNI Interviews, we interview people doing the work they want and the lifestyle they love to help other people do the same exact thing. What's up, guys? We're fired up.
Oh, you just spit through that thing.
I've been tired all day, but we're on. Let's go.
Man, Eric really struggled
Light
today.
him up.
Just to give the audience a little taste, he's been really struggling.
Hey, man,
And
but
he woke up about 5 minutes ago.
let's talk about that for a second. You know, and sometimes I hate when people do this. It's like they're bragging, but I'm not trying to brag here. But, dude, I fell asleep working at I think, I don't know what time, 2 a.m, and I woke up at 5 a.m, like without all my work done. So we're going to talk about entrepreneurs and dreams and realistic dreams and what's real and what's not and some stuff we're kind of fed up with. And we're going to do some diss tracks. Just kidding. I'll stop there. All right. So, you know, that did bring up a topic though. One thing that I find very interesting is who's allowed to call themselves an entrepreneur. Let's start with that. I just thought of that one. We have a bunch of topics to talk about today, but let's talk about who's realistically able to call themselves an entrepreneur. And I've never asked Mikey this before. So what do you think, Mikey?
Well, I mean, I think anybody can call themselves an entrepreneur. I think to me, there's going to be a definition or a difference between a successful entrepreneur.
Very true.
But I don't care if somebody calls himself an entrepreneur.
I'll tell you what, man. The thing that I don't like and why I brought this up is that it's like some people are like, oh, well, you're just doing this. You're not a real entrepreneur. It's like, wait a minute. If my neighbor starts a sprinkler company and goes off and starts his own company and is supporting himself selling sprinklers, I think he's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny you brought that up. I just never care. Like, dude, I don't care. Like, who cares? Like, who cares to have the title, right?
No one should care, but then you have like very successful people being like, you're a fake entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, I would ignore that. I mean, maybe. I would never pay any like time wasted on something like that.
I'll throw this out there. Call yourself an entrepreneur and go earn it. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
all right.
It's funny that this is a thing now, right? Like,
well, that's our topic for today.
I know.
That's why I thought
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's crazy that we're at a point where like people like want to be called an entrepreneur. It's cool to be called an entrepreneur.
So rad.
Like, dude, 5 years ago, I don't even know if I knew what that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one titled themselves that.
Yeah, and like I guess I'd kind of compare it to skateboarding because when we were kids, we were real skateboarders. But then some, like it's always like the mid like kind of like kid that wasn't that successful that would be like, you're not a real skater, and like try to make everybody feel like they weren't skaters.
Yeah, but remember, like the pros never really gave a
shit. The pros don't care. The pros don't care. You're all entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about dreams and reality, and let's start this off by saying there's a lot of fake stuff going on, and there's goods and bads to it, but we've actually encountered it numerous times of getting catfished, people saying they want to work with what we're doing, and then you research and realize that things on their Instagram profile are actually not true. And it's a very interesting topic. I'll also add in, it's also destructive and it's causing people a lot of harm. I think a lot of people are getting hurt by claiming they are something when they're not. And you know what? I think the best I've heard it put was Gary Vee. I don't know if you watched this one. He made a comment. He's like, you know, right now, almost anyone can win. And there's all these people that are putting on such a public show of I'm this and I'm that. He's like, when things get hard, what's going to be hard for people is to then become, you know, work at a fast food restaurant or become a bank teller, which is a hardworking, hustling job when they've already, which is fine, but they've already put on this persona or this front that they're this world traveling playboy or whatever, right? And I think that a lot of people, by doing that, I am not for that. I'm right now on my personal brand, I'm not going in because I haven't connected with what my thing is to put out there. So I'm not going to put out fake stuff. I'm putting all my effort towards AVNI, and when I do connect with what I want to put out there, it'll be 100% real. But I'm not just going to put stuff out just to put stuff out so people think I'm something.
Okay. This is a hot topic for Bork right now, man. Bork is fed up.
I don't know what happened. I've been tired all day. I'm fired up. Let's go.
Bork is fed up with what he's seeing on Instagram right now.
Yeah, you were just talking about it before we started. Let's hear your opinion.
Well, I don't know, man. I think Instagram's tough right now. I think everything just looks it looks too good, right? Not even like the guys who are saying, the bio of them, like, I made 20 million before I was 17, and I do not even that. Like even normal people, right? You only post your best photo. Like everything looks so perfect that I think at times it's just hard in general. But then to add like what you were saying, dude, you can't tell who's who. You can't tell who is successful, who's not. You can't tell whose followers are real.
And for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of people that buy fake followers.
Yeah,
they buy
so
them, and they have accounts that are made that go and follow them, and their followers are not real.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think like dude, coming from skating, right? Like we're so against anything that's not organic or real. We hate everything that's like structured or corporate or forced. So to like be in like this world where it's all about social media, or like when I was skating, it wasn't all about social media. We just wanted our trick scene, so we were posting them, right? But now like we're in a position where like social media is selling product or investment, or we're using it to build brands, right? So it's a big part of our life. And dude, it is I don't know if intimidating is the right word, discouraging at times for me to like not know who's who.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I don't know. We talk about this a lot. I'd be curious to know what the viewers think. Like, are you guys noticing it? Are you guys sick of it? Does everyone seem like they fly in private and drive a Rolls Royce?
Let's do this. Let's ask, of people listening, do seeing the jets and seeing the cars, does that realistically motivate you, seeing the people who are posting that? Like seeing people doing that, does that help you in your situation, and does that motivate you? So let's just ask that first of all. Second of all, I want to jump into a specific example Mikey talked about. Let's talk about, and it's funny, we're just talking before this about how there was a time before social media when certain media outlets were very similar. And tell us about the first time you really experienced that.
Like what?
Like Skate More.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm confused with the question.
So Mikey filmed a video part called Skate More, and that was the first time you said you ever experienced people hating on you.
What? Like the first time I noticed
the message boards.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that until today.
Yeah, no, that was
So
lame.
what happened?
So basically, gosh, before that, there was no real way for you to listen to what people thought of anything about you unless they
it was like in a chat room, but it didn't get
out. Yeah. Or they just told you in your face, right? like there were times I was at a park and someone said some stupid shit. Like that happened all the time. But yeah, Skate More was the first time I experienced the message boards and people hating on you, and what that'll do to a 22-year-old kid. Yeah, that was brutal. I just never knew people. I mean, back then I just didn't know people hated you. I was like, why do people hate me? Yeah, that was awful. That actually was really hard. Now I think back, that was a really hard moment in my career, probably in my life in general. And
let's contrast that with your decision to do. And for those of you who don't know, Mikey was one of the first. It wasn't called vlogging back then, but it really was a vlog on the barracks. And he had a show called Mikey Days, and it was one of the most successful episodes ever in skateboarding. So I don't think a lot of people know this, but when you started that was after you had received that negativity from Skate More. And by the way, you were thriving in your skate. Everything was going good. There was just a large audience that was just...
I don't even know how large. It might have been 10 guys. I can't remember the number, but like, dude, not even 10. If one person says your shit's whack and 100 people say it's good, you remember the thing that one guy said that was negative, right? I don't know why. It's just what you always do. So from the point of me, like, dude, S Days and like Paul and like that whole run, I never thought about what people thought of me. I was just skating, right? Skate More was the first time seeing the message boards where I was like, it was the first time people's thoughts affected me, and I was then skating differently. I was putting out different it affected my entire outlook on the way I wanted to skate, and it did that from whenever Skate More came out up until right after the Alien video.
And so we're tying this into anybody listening that's like trying to figure out what to do with Instagram and what to do with even like their life, because it's like you're supposed to put on this show. So talk about your decision to do Mikey Days and how you made that decision.
So I think that there was so many years where I was like so in this like worrying about what other people thought, if they were going to like this trick, worrying about how I dressed. And I got to the point where I just like, I wasn't enjoying it. I remember I hit a point, it was the only point in my life where I just didn't want to, like, I still like skating, but I hated what it was doing to me. Right. And I finally like kind of just like hit my breaking point and was like sick of it. And finally like decided I was just going to do what I wanted to do. And that was right around the time of deciding to do Mikey Days. And I was terrified of doing it. That was like the first time that I really put my personality out there beyond me just skating. And I think that was like the saving grace up until that point, right? Like people were hating on me, but like I always felt like they were just hating on the way I skated, right? I never felt like they were hating on me as a person because like they never met me, right? But Mikey Days was the first point where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put me out there. And if people hate on me, that means they're really hating on me, like the real me, you know? And that was scary, but it was like, it's funny, the time where I just went for it and decided to be myself, that was like such a big, like pivotal moment in my career. And it's funny, I think at Mikey Days, the first half of my career and the second were almost two different careers.
And you talk about the resistance a little bit. People told you not to do Mikey Days?
Oh yeah, dude, yeah. Dill told me he's gonna kick me off Alien if I did it.
So basically, and just to put context to that, you were gonna potentially lose your biggest sponsor and all your credibility if you did that. I mean, that's kind of a big thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, look, I get why Dill said that. Like, Alien was not my, like, having an episode or a web series on like the barracks. That wasn't Alien, right?
Yeah.
So it was like. And I think it was a little ahead of its time to where like, I think he was just like, this doesn't fit us.
Yeah.
Right? For me, it was like, I noticed what it was doing for me though. Right. Like, and really how Mikey Days came to be, I went to Woodward with Mike, Mo, and Sean. And we went there and there were like 1,500 kids there. Dude, seriously, 20 kids knew who I was. Right. Best-selling shoe on DC. On DVS. Had been pro almost 8 years to that point, right? Pretty large pro. 20 kids knew who I was. Yeah. Right. And it was that moment where the whole entire camp knew Sean and Mike Mo. And I was like, you know what? I need to do something. Like this isn't right. Like, right. And then that's when I kind of came up with wanting to do an episode on the barracks, put more personality into it. And then I went the next year and every single kid knew who I was. Right. Yeah. It was like, oh my gosh, like look what that just did for me. So I didn't want to, it didn't make sense to let it go.
Yeah.
You know?
And so lesson there is you basically just said, I'm not going to care what people think and I'm going to do what I'm just going to drown those out, do what I want. The barracks, Mikey Days was getting, I think like they were getting like some of them like 250,000 views.
Yeah. Like 200,000-300,000 views. And this was before social media.
Yeah.
This was like, I remember hearing that going, oh my God, like what do my skate parks get?
Yeah.
You know, and I just filmed this thing in a day and it gets more views than a skate park that I spent 4 years
Which building. A lot of YouTube kids are doing right now.
So yeah, basically with all that said, anytime and it sounds so obvious, anytime I've ever took the point when, you know what, I'm just going to be myself. I'm just going to put myself out there. It's always done so much better for me than like trying to be something else.
Yeah. And that's the lesson I think for Instagram is like everybody who's getting into trouble, they're putting on a show and that show can easily kind of be exposed, you know?
Yeah. So, and we talk about this too. Eric and I kind of believe that we're going to get to a point where, a lot of these, like the fake guys on Instagram are going to get weeded out and we're hoping that all that's left are the people that are actually themselves, actually doing what they say, their real life, etc. So hopefully this weeds out some of the, I think, bullshit we're all looking at.
For me also, I think if you build yourself that way, like if you look at how Gary V's building himself, Gary V never posts himself flying private, does it all the time. never post like all the luxuries that he has. I mean, he does when it comes to building a business and when it comes to building his sports agency. But when it comes to like all of his luxuries and cars, it's just he connects because he's not posting all these crazy things. So when times do get hard and people are really, really struggling, and there's people really, really struggling right now, they're going to be almost angry if someone's posting that in their face while the world and US is going through another recession. To me, it's
yeah, you might be right. I think there's difference though, like because no matter what I think of like a Grant, right? Mm-hmm. But Grant's got his own jet.
Well, let's say this is our next topic, so let's start talking about this. Keep going.
Yeah, like you have someone like Grant, right? It's Grant's jet. That's not like a JetSmart or like I hired.
And he didn't pay $300 for a photo shoot to go shoot photos.
That's
in front
his
of it.
jet, right? His car, like he's like it's actually his, right? So he might be I don't think he's that, right?
No,
like,
that's different.
He's built something to be able to post that and that's what Grant likes, right? Like, dude, Grant likes that shit, which is nothing wrong with it, and he's built something to be able to put that out there, right? I think it's the guys who don't have that. You know what I'm saying? Like the guys who rent the jets, the guys who rent the cars.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And like we just interviewed Bedros, and Bedros owns a giant monster company, and he puts stuff out there, but it's like he also used to get his hair washed out with gasoline to get rid of lice when he was a kid because he was so poor.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he has literally built through the struggle. So,
well, Bedros made a good point. You've got to build it and make the money first and then promote it later.
Yeah.
Right? You can't skip all of that and just promote, because the second this stops working, now you lose everything.
Yeah.
Right.
So next topic, and me and Mikey were just talking about this in building a realistic dream. And me and Mikey have a little bit different perspectives on this. Grant Cardone, let's start it off with that, has the 10X rule. Mm-hmm. And run through the 10X rule for anybody that doesn't know.
So the 10X rule is basically whatever your goal is, multiply it by 10, right? So if your goal is I want to make an extra $1,000 this month, your goal should be I want to make an extra $10,000 this month, right? And kind of his philosophy is that once you establish what the goal is, subconsciously your mind starts trying to figure out ways to
thinking
get it,
like that,
right? And so, his thing is like, don't ever set a realistic goal. Set it so high because you're gonna perform so much harder to get to that goal. So the comparison would be, if your goal is $1,000 a month, you might only get to, let's say, 400 or 500, right? Mm-hmm. Or goal at 1,000. But if you multiply it by 10, your goal is then $10,000 a month, and you work to get that, and you only get 4,000. You're already making 3,000 more than what your original goal was just by, having set a goal higher. Mm-hmm. Granted, I think that resonates with me. Like, I think I'm the personality that, like, I enjoy doing it like that. But I think there's a lot of people out there that get discouraged by not hitting their goals. So I know there are people out there that have to have a goal that they can hit, experience what it feels like to hit it, and then move on. Mm-hmm. For someone like me, I actually don't ever need to experience me hitting a goal. It's not about hitting the goal for me. It's everything it takes to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, that actually really works.
So the thing I'll throw out there is there's people are in different situations, and there are a lot of people, and that's why when you hear, rappers talking about credit card got declined or stuff like that because they've been through that. The hard part is getting from nothing to something. I think that's the hardest part. I know that that's the hardest part because it was very hard for me to get to something. Now, my yearly goal, my goal is to get to $250,000 MRR, monthly recurring revenue. That's what I want. But now I'm thinking, is that enough? And I'm sticking with that for me for now, because I'm thinking, like, for example, we saw Bedros, and I was like, wait, is building a $10 million company enough? Now I'm thinking, am I thinking wrong again? Now do I need to think 100 million? And I'm going through that process, but I have it set on where I want to be, and I have it mapped out. But I like what I call warm up. So for me, when I was working as a server and selling cars and doing the different jobs that I did, the hardest part was getting my mentality to where I had leverage to do what I want, which for me where I'm at was $10,000 a month. That was the hardest barrier to break. And I think that it's okay to have a warm up. It doesn't mean when I get there, I'm going to stop. It doesn't mean that because I said $10,000 a month, I'm never going to get to a higher level than that. But I think that having a warm up where you go, okay, I'm going to start using the mentality of $10,000 a month if I'm making $4,000. And then I start thinking, okay, how do I do that? And then how do I really, once you get to there, then you can reassess and say, okay, now my goal is $250,000 a month, which is my goal right now. So that, I think it's okay to have a warm up. I think it's okay to have a warm up and say, okay, I'm making this much. Now I'm going to get to this much more and warm up and then set your aspirations. Some people do it different. But the reason I say that's okay is because there's a lot of people who are struggling, figuring out how to get out of that. And that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. So I think people give up because they shoot for $100,000 a month. Anyone can say that, right? But to go and actually do that, and then in 6 months, see where you're at. And if you don't make progress, it's so easy to just be like, oh, I'm okay. And like, I'm going to enjoy life and keep going. And my life isn't that bad. And for me, that was the biggest discourager of me getting to that next barrier. When I wouldn't go, it'd be because I stopped thinking that I was going to get there, and then you give up. So I think that giving up mentally is the biggest thing that you have to battle. And I just think you just have to not give up mentally. So I'm okay with having a warm up and then getting to where I want to go.
So what did you do when you gave up on those instances?
Because what I would do is I'd stress myself out. I'd be like, I want to make this money. I want to make this money. And then I would be so intense that it was almost like I hated my life. And so I needed to find a way to enjoy my life. And on top of that, this is one of the hardest things, is survival mode. When you go into survival mode, you're not thinking like that. There's a difference between having your back against the wall and moving towards a goal, and then having to go, I have to pay this right now. The goals, the thoughts can go out the door. And so I think survival mode is the thing that really was tough for me to escape. And so I would just be like, oh, I'm good. Like I have friends working at the restaurant and it's cool and it's okay. And then I would just enjoy life and I would go out and I didn't do that for long periods of time because I've always been very motivated and focused on what I want to do. But when I ever did let go, that was why. It was because I had to survive and then just be like, okay, I need to not stress myself out that much.
So how did you ultimately get out of survival mode? Because me personally, I don't think I've ever been in it. Like I saw you in it.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you ultimately break it?
I literally just did a swan dive off a cliff and smiled as I did it and landed on the rocks. That's what I did. I mean, and it's funny to think about, and I don't recommend doing that. And I've seen it done the other way too. But I just literally, and I've talked about this before, I said, I'm done. And I went skateboarding. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go skateboard and I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And I want to make a lot of money. And that's what I did.
I love it. I love it. I totally respect it. I don't know if I would, I think it's just personally, I don't know if I would have that in me to do it like that.
I mean, I got my ass kicked. Yeah. I got my ass kicked, and the thing is, I was some people are not in that position. Some people are in the position where I didn't have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. That's why I recommend doing it a different way. But the way that I recommend doing it is set a year, right? So if you're working a job you don't like, figure out the way out, right? Figure out the way out, and then set a year where you give yourself time to hit a certain goal. And maybe it's $25,000 a month. Maybe it's $10,000 a month, and figure out a realistic way to do that. And then just give yourself a year and go out that year and work as hard as you possibly can. And at the end of that 6 months or that year, you will have some results. Some people will have crazy results after a month. Other people are going to make a little bit of progress after a year, but at least you didn't give up, because I think that's the killer. I think going into, I'm just going to go out with my friends, I'm just going to stop working, and then just having fun, Not that having fun's bad, but like right now I don't have fun. I haven't gone out with Olivia for like 6 months. It's like, and luckily she's cool about it and she's supportive and she believes in what we're doing with AVNI, but I don't have fun right now. All I do is work 7 days a week. And I think that's what it takes. Am I bragging? I hate when people do that.
No, it's just what I think it's good. I think it's exactly what it is.
But is it going to be worth it? Yeah. And the thing is they post these things where they say like, oh, work for 4 years or work for 2 years and enjoy the rest of your life. That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
Like work for 2 years? Like, yeah, work for 2 years. Okay. How about work for 10 years? Like, hey, if someone pulls it in 2, congratulations. But I don't see most people pulling it in 2 years. Okay. So now let's segue a little bit. Let's talk about dream life. This is something I'm about to go in on. I'm fired up and I'm so sick of seeing it.
Fired up.
Let's talk about your dream life and living your dreams. So, I don't like the jets. I actually hate the jets.
Have you flown private before?
No, never flown private. And I really don't ever care if I do. Now I know
I've flown private before.
Yeah.
And not a ton. Twice. It's pretty tight.
You know what's funny? No,
it's pretty tight.
Do I ever want to do that? Yeah, I would love to. To be honest, I would do it very frequently.
Wait, ask me if I put the Instagram post up.
I already know you did.
We were stoked, dog. But look, this was a long time ago.
Driving in the Rolls Royce last week.
Yeah, that's true.
I posted underneath it, I drive a Prius because I do. And it was like, hey, I'm in a Rolls Royce.
Well, yeah, that was us, man. We we really on this thing. You weren't like... It was not ours, so we weren't playing it as it was. But all right, man. I mean, all right.
Yeah, I'm not... Yeah. Here's the thing, man. If you do something cool, great, post it. But I'm talking about the kids that are like shooting the photo like on my way to my meeting. And it's like they're in a jet, but really they're not, right? And then also, I think that this is where it does kind of bother me is that when you're claiming that you're trying to make an impact and you're claiming that you're trying to like help people out, and then all you're doing is flaunting all this luxury, to me, that's not helping anyone. And now I'm going to preface this because I don't want to offend anybody that is like the real deal, like Grant, right? Like I understand Grant. He's worked for what he has, like hearing his story, like of drugs and like everything he's gone through and how he's worked for it. It's crazy. Same thing, Bedros, right? You look at Gary Vee, like Gary Vee's like, I've been following Gary Vee before 99% of the people out here knew who Gary Vee was when he was in Silicon Valley. Like I've been following him forever. But I'm not mad at that. What I'm mad at is all the people who are, it's like they're just pretending they're this image or something to say they're helping people to get followers and like fame. I don't like it.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
So let's talk about
I hear it, but how many people do you think love seeing that?
That's what I asked them earlier.
I think
that's what we asked them earlier.
Does
that motivate you?
I think we're going to hear more yes than no.
Okay. And if that, you know what?
I mean, dude, think about it. You could just look like every time Nyjah posts a photo of his, was he a Ferrari, Lamborghini?
Yeah, but Nyjah's an athlete.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything against Nyjah for saying it. I'm saying, look at how those photos perform.
Totally.
Through the roof.
Totally.
Right? So, I don't know, man. I think our culture's brought up in that. I think our culture's like always looked at that as like goal or, idolizing what that represents.
I'm not mad at Conor McGregor.
You're just mad at the fakers, bruh. That's it. That's all.
I guess what I'm mad at is people that are saying they're trying to like make an impact and like help people, and then
just try to get a following,
and then they're like faking it to do
fakers.
it. Yeah, and I'm not even
shout out
saying
the fakers, dog. Hey, shout out the fakers, man. I know you're just trying to eat, man. I got you.
What I am trying to say is this: I'm trying to help and create something that helps people get to where they actually want to go. I had 7 years from when I nose dove off the cliff until I figured it out. And I think that learning is one of the best things out there for people. And I think that showing people how they can do it and taking that 7 years and then putting it into 6 months or 1 year of developing a skill that actually allows you to do what you want, I think that's helpful. I think that's really helpful.
Me too.
And don't think you have to, post all the wild stuff in order to do that. And that's that we launched our academy. That's what our academy is about. It's about the 7 years of like me figuring out how to, well, not figuring out, I figured it out at some point, start an agency, condensing that down into a program that you can go through and do it yourself. And I think that's helpful. I think that type of stuff is very helpful. So let's talk about goals and how you set goals. And we're talking about dream life. I'm going to preface this with dream life for me. There's a few things I really want. I want a compound that basically helps. Like we went to Bedros' studio last week. He has his own studio. You walk in, it's all set up. It's like you're on a news station set, and it's for his podcast. That is a goal I have. That's a goal I have. So how do you approach setting goals first? Let's hear your strategy. Because me and Mikey have very different strategies.
Yeah. You know what? I'd love to say I'm super planned out with like knowing exactly what my goal is. Like you said, you have a goal of how much you want to make a month, right? I have never had that, right?
You do though. You do have a goal right now can you talk about your building or no?
Which building? Well, no.
The new one.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the first one.
But that's I have to, right? We're raising money.
But that's a goal.
Well, maybe is it?
Yeah. So
isn't a goal something you're trying to
one,
achieve? Right? This is, there's no way around it. Got to do this, right?
And that's when people perform.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, that's actually a bigger conversation that I'd love to have. It's like, how do you get yourself to perform, right? But like, just to like explain to you, I've never had this mapped out plan on like, I'm going to make this much and then I'm going to make this much. And then I just never done it. I think because I don't need it for me.
See, I think you have.
Well, give me an example.
So let's talk about your first building. So the short story is Mikey quit skateboarding. We've told the story, 100 times.
I didn't quit.
Mikey got fired from skateboarding.
Thank you.
And then figured out what he's going to do.
Just to preface, I would do that shit forever. The sponsor didn't want me to, though.
Hey. So he decided he's going to start a capital company. And at first it was not a joke, but it was like, whoa, you're going to do this. And you committed and you dove in. And then you came across you started looking at deals, learned how to find deals. If we're looking at this very logically, learned how to find deals, and then had a team, right? People mentors and people you talk to. And then you went and you found a building. And then what was your goal?
To get the building.
and then what did you have to do to get the building?
So I will say this. Yes, wasn't just me though. It was us.
Right.
We went and got the building. I did have a team with me.
Right.
Yeah, basically we saw an opportunity that was good. It was a good opportunity. We didn't have the money raised though on that first building.
Right.
We found the building before we started the fund. So in order to get a building under contract, you have to put your earnest money down, right? Which is, I think it was 3%. It was a significant amount of money, right?
Can you say the amount?
We bought it for 7.3.
Well, no, of the money that you personally put down. Can you say that?
3%.
Okay.
Right?
Do the math.
So
a lot of money coming out of your pocket.
I mean, dude, it was significant.
It was a commitment.
Fuck yeah,
okay.
Right? If you don't raise the money, that goes away later, right? So there was like a point where like, yeah, I shouldn't say we put our money where our mouth was, right? But it was a good deal.
And if you didn't raise the money went away.
The money went away, which would have hurt. Beyond that, what's actually worse than losing the money is when you're in, I don't know how residential works, in commercial. If you go hard on your money, you put a building into escrow and you do not close, it's probably the worst look for you.
Yeah.
It is awful, right?
Yep.
And those brokers get paid by closing on a building, right? And buildings take 2 months to close. They're putting in a lot of work, and then they don't get paid. That broker's not working with you.
They're never going to work with you again.
And for us, dude, I didn't want to lose the money, but there was more at risk for us not being able to continue buying in the area we are because we want to buy there for a while. We think there's a huge upside in the community, right?
Yeah.
So that was like a huge risk, was all of us really losing that relationship with the broker. And dude, these are off-market deals. This is a phenomenal relationship we have, right? So there was a lot at risk. But look, for me, it's not even goal. You can call it goals. I don't know. I know for me, I need to put myself in a situation where it's sink or swim. That's how I perform.
Yep.
Right? You look at skateboarding, dude, we're jumping on handrails, man. It's like you make it or you get really hurt, right?
Yep.
I just know that when I put myself in a situation, go, there we go. Ernest is down 45 days. You better go raise the money and you better close on the project. I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I need that to go push me to get it done. And that's how I work. But I guess what I'm saying is I didn't go into it before I got the building going, okay, I'm going to get this building. I'm going to get 9. I'm going to put this down.
Yeah,
you know
forget that. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is how do you set goals? How does anyone set goals that they will go out and realistically do? And two ways we've talked about. One is you put yourself with your back against the wall where you have to perform.
Yeah, but let me tell you this because I don't want to tell everyone. Look, I put myself in a position where I have to perform, but I know I can perform.
Yes.
Right? I'm not saying just, oh yeah, go put your money where you're not, go put a building and you've never raised money before. Dude, I was very confident in doing what I was doing, right? You have to have some type of connection with reality to know that you can get it done, right? Like I wouldn't recommend for you to just go, oh yeah, go get a building, put yourself in, just make it happen.
Right now?
Right?
Yeah. Now, I could not do that.
Yeah, so I
would have to prepare and position myself and do a lot of things to be in that position. So
anyone listening, if you're wondering have a good enough feeling that you can get it done. Don't just listen to this and go, oh yeah, shit, if I just make myself do it, I'll do it.
And that's my warm-up point. That building was kind of like your warm-up, right? Because you set this goal, and that goal, I'm just going to exclude numbers, but that goal compared to the project you're working on right now. The project you're working on right now in real estate is huge.
It's big. Yeah, it's big.
So you proved to yourself in the period of 3 months that you and your team could pull off that first building.
Yes, but that...
I know your team has done buildings before.
Dude, this building's small for my team. It really is.
Right.
This is a pretty minor deal for them.
So that was your warm-up, and now you're doing a deal that's much bigger.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger.
And we won't go into detail because it's in the process, but that was you did a warm up. And so that's kind of what I would say is that when setting goals, have a warm up that I can get to this level and then I can do it. Like you said, that was one thing. And I usually don't call people out, but that was one thing about one of my past business partners that I hated. It's he had this big thinking, and then it was you knew he was never going to do it.
Yeah.
There was no way. Yeah. And it was never going to happen. But it's that's what I don't like is when people say to set these big goals, but they're not possible. They're actually not possible. And this is kind of our debate with Paul is that sometimes things are not possible. You can do great things. You can do big things, but have a warm up and then set your goals big and know where you're going, obviously. But
what was it? I totally agree with you. I don't know why I just thought of this, but do you think that's the case for everyone?
What's that?
How would you explain an Elon Musk? Just different. This is somebody who's you could say, dude, your goals are too big, dog. You can't.
See, I know what I think about that.
What do you think? Because I think he's thinking so beyond that, if he's not going to do it, the next generation will, right?
This is what I think. I think that and we saw this as in athletic careers and in acting, there is, and this is a reality. There's
always somebody who's going to defy the odds, right? There's always going to be somebody who does it and makes everyone else believe, right?
So I was kind of going somewhere different, but this is what I think. I think that there are people who leverage their situation, and then there are people who get put on. And when you are prepared to get put on, you can leverage it and make something great out of it and get to a certain level, and then you can level up and leverage it again and leverage it again. You have to know how to do certain things to get to certain levels. There's just no way around it unless someone hands it to you, and that's 0.001% of the circumstances. So I actually don't know all of the I don't know a lot of the detail on Elon Musk getting started. I know the basics of the companies that he started and how they did. I don't know the formation of PayPal. So I would say this. I think that you everyone needs to learn how to leverage the situation they're in to get to that like next level, right? And then leverage that again, and then get to another level and keep getting up levels and levels to get to where you're going. So do you know what's the background on Elon Musk and starting PayPal?
Oh man,
who raised the money?
Well, if I remember right, I read his book a long time. They merged with PayPal. He started I can't remember the name of the company he started.
Okay.
He started a company. Then there was PayPal. I think they were rivals.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up merging together.
How much did he raise for his first company?
Gosh, I can't remember.
So how did he know how to raise money? That's the thing, is like you have to get to the point where you know how to do things, and it's just leveraging where you're at to get to the place where you can get to the place where you can, and just
I hear you.
keep going up and up.
I totally hear you. I can't remember on him though.
So I think, in my opinion, and I'll compare it to like music and skateboarding. In skateboarding, we saw when you came up and you and Paul became professional athletes and skateboarders, you guys were very talented, but you got put on by some of the best companies out there. And then you took that and went to the moon with it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think
I had to work my way. I didn't have the hottest brand ever. My first shoe sponsor was Duff's, dog.
Yeah, but you really didn't start blowing up until you got on City Stars. You were like
when I got on City Stars,
you were working your ass off for sure.
But remember, City Stars wasn't like it wasn't girl. It was like
City Stars was
nothing.
Big though.
Not really.
And you were skating alongside Paul. And
City Stars got big, in my opinion. City Stars got big because there was this whole new group of kids on it.
Yes. And so here's my point. So my point would be, you got into the position where all of a sudden all the filmers and photographers wanted to shoot you and wanted to, make videos, and you were like, let's do it. So you made a bunch of, and then that got you out.
Yeah.
And then from there you got spawned, and then you got out and you got out and you got out. So I think that's how people come up, but it's all starts with taking your current circumstance and establishing a goal and a realistic but challenging warm up is what I'm going to say. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today is like, for your dream life, getting to the jets and all that, it doesn't happen without doing a successful first building and then moving to your second building. And Mikey's on the path right now to do some really big things in real estate. It's really cool to watch, but I watched you for 2 months, 3 months, literally all day, meet with people, contact people, and you raised the money. I mean, dude, you worked so hard for that money. You worked so hard. Yeah. It was a full-time,
grind.
Absolutely consumed type of thing. So this is the part that I like to see, the grind in between. Gary Vee did a video. Have you seen the video of him he does a video mocking everyone that says he's the overnight kid? And he shows every video he ever made for Wine Library. To put this into perspective, we have made 20 podcasts. He made 1,000 vlogs for Wine Library TV. He's like, tell me I made it overnight.
That all goes back to what I was saying about the message boards, man. You got in one ear out the other. You can't pay attention to what people say.
Yeah. So what's one thing as far as dream life? I know you're not like this so much, but I'll tell you a few of mine. You know my biggest one.
I have one, man.
What is it?
I want a chef.
Do you know what's funny? That's one of mine too.
Yeah, I want a chef so bad.
Yeah.
I just want like Jen and I to like not worry about cooking, not worry about having to go buy food, just have somebody there who's cooking us really healthy, good food, and then cleaning it up. That is my dream.
I'm 1,000% with you there.
I would love that. And like, dude, it's not that outrageous. Like a chef, I mean, dude, it's definitely a salary, but like, I think it's doable.
It's totally doable. And then also like one thing that I think is cool, like you work at Facebook, you work at Google, they have full on cafeterias where you go in, you eat.
Yeah.
So
food's a big one for me. I want the chef, but
for
like
you, food, like come on, man.
I want the chef, but like other than that, like it'd probably be more like Jen stuff.
Can you name one?
I mean, dude,
I have somewhere I'm going with this, so talk about that, and then I'm going to give some specifics here.
Jen is definitely going to want to design her own home at some point.
Amazing.
I already know that's a goal of hers. She just wants to do it.
Dude, do you know what's funny? Do you know that's one of my things that if I wasn't doing what I am, that's what I would want to do? Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Like I think that's to me the coolest thing ever. My style's different than I mean, I love her style, but my style is like the penthouse creative suite type thing. But that's something that I think is the coolest thing. If you create your own space in your own environment.
Yeah.
So that's
like
one of,
for me,
you
like,
want her to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I want her to be able to do that. But for me, it's more like, it's not so much the things, like it's the stress of what, like, and we've talked about this. I don't want to like worry about having to pay for things at all.
Yeah.
I don't want to worry about being able to afford anything, right? If we want to go on the trip, I want to go on the trip. I don't really need the like nice shit at all. I don't want the stress or burden or lack of option, which I guess you can get to a certain point where that goes away, I think.
Yep.
That's more like my goal, but I don't have a number to it. Like to me, 20 million or 100 million makes no difference at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know what's funny? I was at a real estate conference once. I don't know why I was there. One of my friends was like, come with me, because I've never really done real estate or gotten into it, which I will in the future, being that I'm partnered with you.
We'll get you in.
Okay, I'll get in there. But the guy on stage, and this was in a different state, probably 10 years ago, so this number can be very different now, but he was like, have you guys ever thought, to the crowd, of how much you actually need to just be okay and just not worry? And everybody was like, no. And he's like, $250,000 a year. He's like, once you get to that point, and remember, this was a different state.
I actually, I could totally agree with that.
He's like, once you get there, he's like, set that as your goal. Get there. $250,000 a year. You can pay all your taxes. You have medical insurance. You have a place to live. You can eat food, save money. He's like, get to that point. And that really impacted me, because I was like, oh yeah, that is defining enough. This is enough. And this is how I will be.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I actually would agree with that number.
And where he was at, it was actually kind of like a really almost luxurious lifestyle. In California, you're
250 in California is like, you're good, but it's not like, once it's cut, you can do it for sure. I think now I'm going to sound like you can't. You absolutely can, and it would be comfortable. It's just a little harder in California. I think in California it's probably closer to 3. Yeah, like you hit 3, you can absolutely enjoy everything
if you're smart, because you could be making $500,000 and be broke.
Yeah, that's true.
Or spending all your money more than you're making. So let's get to the kind of practical part here. I want to just kind of practice what I'm preaching and just be a little bit transparent here. Is I have basically, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to recommend. I'm just going to tell you what I do. And if this works for anybody else, great. I have 2 kind of tiers of my life. I have my warm-up phase, which I'm finally like kind of dominating and getting there. I mean, I don't want to say I'm there, because there's still a few things I have to do.
At what point do you get out of warm-up? Do you have a number on that?
Yeah. So my goal, and the reason I say that is my warm-up phase was when I went from making a couple $1,000s a month filming videos, and then all of a sudden I was making like $3,000 a month and still really struggling, to I just wanted to make $10,000 a month. Oh, well, and so that's why I say, like, I'm there.
Yeah.
But there's the reason I'm saying this. There's more than just the financial, right? And so that's my warm up. And so I'm feeling really good. And then the next goal is $250,000 a month MRR, that I can depend on, that I'm making every single month. And that's a big goal, right?
Is that personal?
That's personal. So, and I've done the math on how big the company needs to be, and, I've figured all that out. And then I also have role models who have actually done that and way more than that. So, what I do is I write down the things. For me, there's 2 approaches I take. I write down my day when I'm doing that. My day, what it looks like, the things, the people in my life. And every morning, and I haven't done this for the past few mornings, but I will get back into it. I think it's good to not say you have to do it every single morning, because then if you miss like 5 mornings, then you're bummed and you stop, and then you just give up again. That's why New Year's resolutions are so miserably ineffective, right? So it's okay if you skip a few days. I actually sometimes will intentionally skip days just to make sure I'm okay with skipping days. But I try every morning to run myself through what that looks like. And so there's parts of that day that are already happening, and then there's other parts I'm still working on. but it's very specific. It's the car I drive, which for me is a brand new Prius, and I'm happier than I could be with it. I don't need a car at this point to be happy. I don't ever need a car to be happy. I just want to drive there, and I do want it to be electric soon. That's my only thing. But I have a very specific day of what my dream life looks like. And what that enables me to do is it enables me to be happy with Olivia and happy with where we're at, but yet work really hard because there's certain parts of that day I still need to happen. And those are written down, and I write those down every morning. Then I have my 10X. And for me, I'm already thinking, Bedros made me think that it's not enough. Bedros made me think, and this sounds crazy, but $250,000 a month is not enough. But for now, like I said, that's my goal. And now I'm stepping into certain parts of that going, okay, we're going to make this happen. We're going to make this happen. But I have the day, it's 3 years from now, 3.5 years from now, the day and what the day looks like and the things that are in my life at that time. That's my dream life. So when I see these jets, for me, it does absolutely nothing because that's not in my specific plan.
Yeah.
But I have a very specific design of my house. That's my dream life, right? I have a compound that, like Bedros' studio, when I walked in there last week, when we walked in there, it was like, here we are. This is it. This is what we're going to create, right? So those are the things, and this is kind of the point of this episode, the create your dream life, is having those things, first your warm up, and then having your long-term, this is what I want to accomplish. To me, that's the dream life. And that's why I don't really resonate. If I go fly on a jet at that point, which I probably will, it's not in my dream. My dream's defined and I know exactly what it is.
There's something funny, man. I can't even, I got to stop you, dude.
What?
I just got a DM like 2 days ago from some kid asking if I wanted a free 3-month jet. Is it JetSmart?
Oh, really?
JetSmart, like code. I was like, I responded to him like, this sounds tight, but what does this mean? And he goes, it means free flying for 3 months. I'm like, would anyone ever say no to that? Yeah, hook me up. I know there's going to be some stipulation, but yeah, I might be doing this, man.
Well, dude,
I might take you with me.
I mean, here's the thing. Again, Gary flies private. He's like, I fly private. I don't post it. And
oh, does he say that? What a legend, dude. He's such a legend.
yeah, he's like, I worked out with the physical trainer this morning. Do I post it? No, because I don't know his exact reason. He said it's a luxury. Like that's not what I'm trying to do.
That's cool.
But then you ask him what, and he's a great example. What's his vision? He's like, I'm going to be on the side of the New York Jets and I'm going to be the owner when they win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big goal. And I've been hearing him say that for, 12 years. I don't know how many years, 10 years
Is he
now.
an owner in it now?
I don't think so yet. Okay. I don't know. I haven't been following that closely because I've been watching Vayner Sports. But I mean, what a rad goal to just be on the side with your team, the underdog. Like that's what this is the one thing I want to drive home as we wrap up here is that design your dream life around what your dreams are, not what you're seeing on social media. And this is something that I think is a trap of death. And we were talking about this before the episode. There are people who are literally killing themselves. No joke, straight up committing suicide because of stuff that's happening on Instagram. And I'm not saying that for like to get more people to watch it or for some dramatic moment to post. I'm saying there is a path that you can choose to go down where you go, I can be this person and online. And I think, in my opinion, it's a dangerous path. It's a dangerous path to go down because you risk being exposed and always having to like think about what you're saying. And I think that it's a dangerous road to go down. But before I go into the closing, anything else on that note?
Did you see Kanye's post?
About Kiki?
No, not about Kiki, about Instagram.
Oh no, what did he say?
He's basically like basically saying that Instagram and having a following is like you walking around with a shirt on that says your how much money you have and how big your dick is. It's the same thing by showing people's following. Kind of the conversation from what I've gathered is that they think they should remove how many followers you have and how many likes or comments your post gets to everyone else. So all they see is your content. And only you see how your photos perform. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but would that even solve it though? If you're still seeing it, I don't think it would solve it.
To the honest truth, I don't know if we really know how big the problem is to solve yet. It's all too new, right? It's like we talk about this all the time. Like we're having to parent kids we're the first parents that have to parent kids through social media. Mm-hmm. We have no idea what it's doing yet, right? Like, and look, this isn't to be like super negative on it. There's a lot of great things because of it. I have a business because of it, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that can be really bad as well. So I think I don't know. I think we'll see what the real issues are from it.
All right. So I want to just wrap this and the take home, this is how I do it. Everybody has their own thing, but as far as your dream life, to me, this is what personally motivates me. Waking up every day and knowing this is my dream. This is my day. I run through the day in my head. These are the things that are in my day. And I will say that I'll add this. That for me is important because when I have only that larger day or dream that I have, a lot of those things aren't currently appearing in my life. And so it becomes discouraging. Yeah. Like when I do go through hard times, it's like, I'm not getting anything done. But then when I have my warm up and I go, I've checked off like 8 out of 10. I'm like doing really good. That for me is a confidence boost. Some people don't need that, but I know there's going to be some people that are listening that do need to create that warm up where they go, I got this. Now here I go. Mm-hmm. Now I can really step on the gas and take it to that bigger level. So again, outline your day. For me, the best way is day in the life because it's sequential and I can walk myself through the day and then outline your bigger one. And that's a strategy for me that I've always used. And I think I learned that from just when I was a kid, I would read all these books like Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins and later Jack Canfield and like all these guys teaching you how to basically mentally train yourself. And for me, that's the best exercise. So that's it for living your dream life. I know that's kind of clickbaity, but I at the same time, the topic for me is very real and that is my dream life. And in a lot of ways right now, I'm living my dream life, which is really cool. And so yeah, hit us with, I really do want to know like what people think about the Jets and stuff. Yeah. So anybody that does have that, like, let us know if this is just us thinking this or if you're picking up on it also, and if you like it. And I won't post it even if you do. But all right, so that's a wrap. And Mikey's out here buying buildings.
You're stupid. You're stupid.